in terms of every other admin I've ever had,
Hmm.
from ELC to the present, where are your standards? So if you do the mental exercise, like the mental game of let's pretend I wasn't going to teach today, but I have the standards up, but I'm not teaching. I was thinking about this week,
Hmm.
but the standards are up. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. The standards are up. If you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous. Okay, the standards
It's
are up.
part of the pony show. You know what they want
It
to
is.
see. Yeah.
It
And you
is.
got to
It's
show it
like,
to them.
okay, so you got what you want. Why is that so critical?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that, and but if somebody were real nervous
Yeah.
about somebody coming in, I would just say, make sure your standards are up, and just don't talk, and have the students present something. And it's almost like a pretty good exercise because then you start thinking outward, like you start thinking, okay, how can I just keep doing that
Hmm.
so that students, it almost like it's a backward design thing
Yeah.
where you look at, well, what are students going to be presenting, and you start kind of developing more as a teacher because students should perform anyway, should present anyway,
Right. Right.
I don't know if that
Um,
makes sense.
no, I think that was great advice. I mean, not great advice, but a great point you made because there's so many people who are just frightened of people coming into the room, and I understand that because I even now I'm 32 years. When I know someone's coming in, I get a little, there's a little anticipate. But I always like you just shared. I always want the kids to be talking, be presenting, because that
Yeah.
will.
So,
Because what are they going to say? That the kid said
absolutely.
something bad? No.
Oh no. Because of the play, we must be professional.
Right. Oh, you're jealous!
Excuse me?
You want me to bend you over your desk right now?
Ow!
Oh, God. Oh, God.
Hello, everybody. Today we are discussing the 2013 film English Teacher. And in the last decade, it's gotten unfavorable reviews overall. So before I give you my take, I guess I wanted to ask you a question, Jacob. Do you feel like English teachers are looked upon in a different category than than those that teach other content areas? Like, are they a unique bunch in any way? Because I have a take on that, but I don't know what you would say.
You mean unique as in personalities, or unique as in what
There's
they do as
something
work?
there, there's something different about them, and I think it's related to what they do, what they teach, than maybe other content areas. But I mean, if there's
Um,
nothing that comes that hits you
Well,
right
I mean,
away,
it's funny at our
maybe not.
school. Well, at our school, we have different departments, and I feel like every department had its own little personality. I think the English department, there's more entrusted in them regarding, especially with these iReady scores, these scores these tests that they have to take every year. And so there's a lot of, but now as them as people, I always feel like they're a lot of fun, meaning there's a lot of interesting personalities, great conversations, and they're from just different people, and sometimes they get, at least in my school, they get along pretty well, and sometimes there's sometimes they don't, like any group of people. But no, I think they're fun people. I mean, if that's the first thing that comes to my head regarding English teachers, very interesting too, very well read. Yeah, so they're to me they're the fun people.
It feels to me, and I think I have a perspective being in different content areas in my career. Like I've been in SPED and I've been in English, and I might have dipped my toe in history, but now it's just been English and SPED. But it feels like there is this sense of, I don't want to use the word geekiness, but this passion certainly for their content that might, it's not a put down of any other content areas, but that might not be true inherently in other content areas, although I'm speaking pretty broadly because there are history, social science where you have a lot of passion but I guess there's this sense, so I'm not necessarily saying it in a positive way. In fact, I do a bit about it where I say we're too passionate about our subject, we English teachers. We're a little weird. I say that because, um, and I'm gonna get into the movie. Through the years, I don't think I've met too many English teachers that aren't really into their certain books and into their content, excited about the teaching of it. That's of course my experience. But the one thing I feel like the movie got well or got right is this Julianne Moore. This movie is directed by Craig Zist, starring Julianne Moore, Nathan Lane as the theater director. So she is presented as this person who just was a bookworm as a kid. As she grew up, it was a natural progression into teaching English. And I feel like they got her right. And it was a pretty funny bit in the sense that in the beginning, she was on a quest to date people. And she's sitting there across this guy, this guy who was really boring. And in her mind, she put boring, C minus. And she was grading the different guys. I thought that was pretty clever, but
Yeah.
yeah, and I also did like the theater theater teacher felt pretty real. Nathan Lane did a fine job with that. And so I did want to get that out of the way. But there's just too much of this angle where she gets into this relationship with a former student and too much into that plot. And I did not care about this play that they were putting up that was written by that former student. She gets into the romance. That just becomes a bit much. I'm going to hand it over to you, but I will say a couple of things, other things I did not like. She gets into this relationship with this former student, okay, and she interferes with the parenting of that kid, right? He's not a kid anymore, he's a man. And she gets it. So Greg Kinnear also stars as the father of that former student who's now a playwright, come to visit. And I just think that at one point he tells her, "Hey, stop interfering in my life and how I raise my child, my adult child." And her response is, "Oh, I've had hundreds of kids." Oh, he says, you don't have kids, you don't know." And she responds with, "Oh, I've had hundreds of kids." I really hate when teachers do that. It's different. Knock it
Yeah.
off with "I've had hundreds of kids." No, it's not the same having students class. I really don't like that. I hear that a bit too often. And real quickly, at one point she says, they ask her, "Do you write?" And she says, "No, I'm not a writer, I'm a reader. I'm a teacher and I'm a reader." And I just want to say that I think it's good to write as an English teacher. So, and to show your writing. I think Ozzy was on our podcast one time when he said that too, and he agreed that it's a good teaching strategy to show your writing. And also, you want to participate in life. There's a book called Perks of Being a Wallflower, and it really gives that theme. This real good teacher in that book, where he says it's important to not just hang around, but to participate in life. We as teachers need to participate. It's not just teaching. I have a real strong feeling, at least in the area of English, you should write. At least it'll make your teaching more engaging at that level.
For sure.
To try to do the assignments that you give the students in terms of poetry, script, things like that, novel writing, short story. But anyway, I can't recommend it overall. What's your take?
No, yeah, really, I'm gonna be truly honest. When I first started watching the film, I was like, oh man, I have to sit through this whole thing because the first piece of her just you getting introduced to her character, and like you said, she does remind me of not all English teachers are like this, but very passionate, and that can be really fun when you're a student, when your teacher is into the book or the play or whatever you're doing. So great, she did a good take on that, like you shared. However, as it went on, I felt like it was more like a TV film, TV movie. At one more point, I'm thinking, is this like a Hallmark special? It just had that feel to it. I know the director has done things, mostly TV shows, but yeah, the acting was fine. Julianne Moore usually does a pretty good job, but you know what? Like you, I cannot recommend it. However, there were a couple of nuggets. One of the nuggets, Ruben, and I thought about this, is there's a point in the film where she has made some bad decisions, right? And she has a decision to either continue making bad decisions, maybe, or kind of straighten up. And there's a scene where a student, no, the former student we're talking about, the one who wrote this play that the school is going to be presenting, her former student, and he just starts lashing out at her, just says some ugly, ugly things to her, and she's just taken it. And I thought, this is an interesting thing. She why isn't she fighting back or going back at him? Or she just listened, and then she said, you know what? Now I'm going to be the adult here, and I need to get this thing done. Whatever she needed to get done, I think she needed to get a new ending to this play, and she went forward, and she didn't get mixed up in all his silliness. And I thought, this is great. This is showing kind of an arc to her character where she now is making some better decisions and talking correctly with the students or former student. Yeah.
Well, let's be more specific on what you mean. You said he was telling her ugly things.
Well, he was telling her things like,
I think you mean that part where he was being abusive to her when he said, all your students, or none of your students will remember you.
exactly,
Or do
will
remember.
never remember. So I didn't share those things,
Yeah,
but yeah,
right.
that was,
So he was abusing her verbally,
he was.
and so her reaction. So correct me if I'm wrong. Her reaction was, fix your play.
That's
so you made a.
Let's get back to business.
You're making a very good point, because this takes us into the classroom, specifically with with us as teachers and
Mhm.
people who aren't teachers get a framework of what we deal with. He's abusive.
Mhm.
He's personal. Your students won't remember you. You're going to be forgotten. You're a nothing, which is actually not true. It's actually not true, because he remembered her. He said nice things about her. But at that moment, he's abusive. Her response was not to fall into the trap of going tit for tat. Oh yeah, well, nobody's gonna remember you. No, or people do remember me. No, the subject was fix the ending of your play, because the ending of his play had a moment that was not appropriate for student.
Right.
It wasn't for student content, because they were going to watch this play at the school, this high school production. Fix your play. And she kept on that. And that's
Right.
critical for us, isn't it?
Which is interesting, because they deal with inappropriate things, and they fix this play, which they should have, because it's inappropriate. But there was also inappropriate relationships in this film. Really, I mean, I know you could have a relationship with a former student who's an adult, but it is seemed to be taboo in my books, and I think it should be. And number two, this former student has a relationship with one of the students. To me, that right there would just cancel the whole play. Like, we're done. This is done. We're now going in this area. No, I'm surprised they just kind of breeze through this little piece, which they shouldn't have. Do you agree with that?
It truly is a strange, and I don't know if it's because I say times have changed so much. I mean, maybe 11 years ago was different than today, because I don't know if that would.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say, she walks in. She previously had a relationship with this this kid, this man now, and this man is with one of the students, the present student, making out, kissing her, and what? That's crazy. And then he's back the next day, and they're saying, you really shouldn't do that. No. Today, what would happen, Jacob? Today?
Yeah, I mean, gone. I mean, a lot of people are gone. I mean, because if they know
what
it,
happens?
if they know it's happening, no, you lose your credential, you're done.
So, right, and let's say they today something like that happens, and the principal goes, "Oh, that's a terrible thing." But anyway, let's get back to your play. We're mandated reporters. We don't report that. We just allow it. Well, not only do we lose our jobs,
We could be prosecuted.
We're liable for criminal prosecution for something like that. So it is a very weird part of the it gave a weird feeling to me too, because the movie was trying to say, well, you have no right to say anything because you've been in a relationship with this guy. Well, yeah, that's true that she's compromised a little bit because she was in a relationship with this guy, but her being horrified, that's okay too. It was a strange scene.
It was, but yeah, overall, I can't recommend it, and it just, and I'm not a big Julianne Moore fan, but she did fine. It just isn't something I would recommend to most people.
So we still haven't had that, I don't know, that great English teacher movie, you know, or that real, I don't know what to say. I guess we could say Dead Poet Society.
That's the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah.
That would be it.
Right.
And I feel like we need a movie that splits the difference though, because for me, that movie that movie is on the other edge where it's too much teacher, not enough student, but I quibble. Thank you everybody for checking it out and checking this video out, and we'll see you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.